That's where you're at.
Savers. I need analysis and
Okay.
evidence.
So before we jump in, just know that we are now a little behind. So we actually kind of have to. Yesterday kind of hurt a bit, but we'll be fine. You just have to jam it in a gear. By the end of the hour tomorrow, you will have completed either two paragraph separate papers, one on each historian, or I gave you permission to write one 3-paragraph one combining the two, since they agreed essentially that there was an economic argument for American involvement in Spanish-American War. Yes, dear. Because when I called your name, you didn't say anything? That would normally mean you're absent. But I'll fix it.
I wasn't.
Why would you mark me absent? I wasn't even here when you said my name. Was your logic? It's all good. Okay. And remember, I'm not necessarily really reading those. I'm just kind of glancing them over. The document evidence is easy. In essence, I gave you a cheat sheet for that. The little challenge is, can you find evidence to support it? Now, let me make your life a little easier. One way to prove. Which historian argues that there was not a political argument for American participation? It's Lefebvre, right? He argues that there was not a political argument for American empire. One way to prove it is to find evidence. No, we were not there to spread democracy or any of that. But there's another way to prove that it was not political, by proving that it was economic. Do you understand? You understand? Okay, good. Find another piece of economic evidence to prove, see, it wasn't political. Find an economic argument. You'll have multiple economic examples. One in the paragraph, Lefebvre is arguing that it was economic. You'll have an economic piece of evidence. A second economic piece of evidence in the paragraph where Lefebvre is arguing it wasn't political. That's what I would do. I think because it's pretty easy. Yes, dear.
In the topic sentence for that, like the Lefebvre, it says it's not about spreading democracy, but it's economical. Do you want in the topic sentence that with the economic? Because like right now I have Lefebvre believes that did not join to take control of foreign areas, and then just leave it.
And then in your analysis, you can kind of clarify. Okay. That's 1/3 of your brain as far as your CIS history brain. 1/3 of your brain is focused on that 3 or 4 paragraph good faith attempt at a somewhat legible writing piece that's due by the end of the hour tomorrow.
Can you tell me if that's social or
the second third of your brain is looking at either why the U.S. became the economic juggernaut that it became in the early 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century, or why were the xenophobic nativists so against unlimited immigration. By now, I'm hoping that you've picked. Well, actually, I think I required that you have picked one of those two, and then created categories for where your document fits, and you're supposed to find a synthesis article for that essay where you're comparing either before or after, right? You can synthesize by going before and comparing economic arguments, why we became the economic juggernaut, or after. or the other one about immigration restriction. In my opinion, the immigration restriction is easy. Find another current discussion about the building of a wall and all that stuff. That's immigration restriction. Or you could go prior and go to immigration. The first major wave of immigration was the development of the original 13 colonies. That's immigration. So I think that would be easy. Not that the other one would be difficult, but you got to find a quote. And then the third is all these Kias. And there's 2 of them due Thursday. And then the fourth third is just content we're covering in class. 4/3. It's 4/3. 1/3's on your blue book. 1/3's on your third quarter paper. 1/3 is Kias, and 1/3 is content. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's now. I do have a good piece of news. I mean, unless I've made your day already by explaining the 4/3 of all the stuff that's required in here. I do have some good news, and that is this. Tomorrow, I'll be gone.
What? No.
That's not the good news. I mean, maybe some of you think that's good news. Thank you. I will be at the U of M, trading ideas with fellow CIS teachers and updating them on, yes, I am properly teaching this class and all this stuff. So that's where I'll be all day. Which means you will have tomorrow free, right? And you'll still come to the classroom, but you will have an accomplished day.
Thanks, Potter.
So we can finish our mini paper.
Oh, this clever.
Yeah, me too.
Any questions before we start?
That helps with the mini paper.
A lot of this stuff should find its way into your blue book essay because we're looking at some pretty good stuff here. So we're looking at this unit is about the federal government's attempt to take on another set of entities. In the prior unit, they're taking on states. In this unit, they're taking on monopolies and attempting to do that. Let's look at the development of unions, why they became a thing, and a little bit of synthesis. The concern at the time, again, this is the economic growth of America, is that machines are taking the place of workers, which, by the way, continues to be a concern. GM just announced yesterday they're closing, they're cutting off something like 30,000 jobs in Detroit, which is GM's headquarters, because they have machines that can do the work of these people. So now that's 30,000 unemployed people, right? Well, I mean, GM argues, well, no, because they'll make cheaper cars, which will increase demand, which means they'll have to hire more people to do other things, just not make cars. Machines can do that. Anyway, that's the argument. So one concern that people at this time, right around the year 1900, was machines are taking our jobs, they took our jobs, and our pay is crap. Well, what can we do? We can form unions. We can go on strike together. It doesn't really work. If I don't like my pay, Mr. Potter, history teacher extraordinaire, if I don't like my pay and I go to the district office and say, that's it, if you don't start paying me what I'm worth, I'm on strike. Me, just me. And every day I've got my sign, just me, walking up and down, walking around the parking lot. It's not going to work, right? They'll replace me pretty easily. One person on strike, that don't work. I could do a sit-down strike and I could occupy my classroom and just glare at the sub. No, that's not right. But still, it's just not going to work. But if all of us went on strike, okay. Just a teeny bit of synthesis here. You know that, 2 weeks ago, something like 3,000 LA teachers went on strike. something like that, and demanded a little bit of bump in pay. It works if we all do it together, right? There's, of course, a risk, and the risk is you'll just get fired. But that means retraining and finding new people, et cetera. Okay, so what businesses did was they created this new thing called yellow dog contracts. I have no idea why they call them yellow dog contracts. I don't know.
I took this test.
Does anyone know what they were?
There were contracts that made it so you couldn't join a union.
Very good. You want this job? Just sign this document saying, I promise not to join a union. Promise not to join a union. Can you do that today? You can't. You cannot. Yellow dog contracts are illegal. Do you know why they're illegal? Because of this, right? Businesses did this, which would spur government action to prevent this. But the reason it's illegal today is because we did it. It was done back then. The forming of yellow dog contracts leads to the formation of labor. That's the nation's first organized union. I mean, they collected dues and there were meetings and they elected officers. They were very organized. Okay. Who were the Knights of Labor? So this is right around the year 1900 again. Right around the year 1900. Who were they? What did they want? Well, I have here four things that they sort of said, here's what we're about. And there they are. 1, safe working conditions. Fire exits. Stop locking doors. This was common back then. Did you know that they just simply lock you in to make sure that you weren't getting up for a little smoke? Nope, we're going to lock you in. Well, no more of that. It was not a specific union, like there's a teachers union or an actors union or something. This was all jobs. We all joined together, one big blob of a union. And you might think, well, that's a good idea. On the other hand, what do I care? What do I as a teacher care if a trucker doesn't get paid enough? So there was a little bit of kickback there for that. Number 2. Number 3, better pay. That seems obvious. Number 4 is the radical one. Number 4 is where the American public looked at unions like, you want that? Labor would own the business. Anyone know what that's called? You do. Communism. Exactly. Why have a group of people called owners and a separate group of people called workers? Why don't you just get rid of the owners and have the workers become the owners? We own it together. Get rid of the owners. That's a little bit radical. That's where the American public looked and said, I don't know about that one. The other 3 seem reasonable. It's number 4 that caused maybe a little bit of resentment toward unions. And by the way, continues. Questions? Let's keep rocking. I am now showing you a second reason why the American public sort of looked at unions as radical, dangerous, violence of strikes, the violence that occurred at strikes. And the most infamous one of all, the Haymarket Square strike. You're looking at a wanted poster in 1886 in downtown Chicago. A bomb went off. The people that were suspected of setting the bomb were the leaders of the union that went on strike. So think about if you're just John Q. American, you're living on your farm, and you open up the paper and you see that these people want communism. I'm not sure that word existed. It was right around then when Karl Marx was starting to write his ideas, Marxism, which would lead to communism in the Soviet Union. And then page 2, bomb blows up in downtown Chicago. Right? Do you say, gee, unions are swell? Or do you say, good God, these people are dangerous and they want a radical rejection of capitalism? I don't know. So the American public did not support unions. And I would argue that even today that there's still this anti-union bias. Unions want too high a pay, and they prevent businesses from being able to adjust. And I'll give you an example. Oh, great example. Oh, synthesis. Boom. Anyone heard of Foxconn? Foxconn? I've got a room full of Wisconsin people. Have any of you heard of Foxconn? Are you really? Oh,
I have now.
Foxconn. How many of you have Apple phones? Foxconn. So do I. Foxconn makes that piece of glass right there. Foxconn made that piece of glass right there. Foxconn, and I think they're a Korean company. You know where they promised to open a new plant? Milwaukee. Right around the Milwaukee, I think halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago, right? Whatever, Kenosha? I don't know. Whatever that is. 30,000 new jobs they promised about 2 years ago. President Trump came to Milwaukee and grabbed a golden shovel, and he and Governor Walker and the American that helped make it happen each grabbed a shovel, and they did the traditional, first dig of the new Foxconn plant. 30,000 new jobs. A week ago, Foxconn announced, it's too expensive. The American factory worker is too expensive. We'd rather make them in, I don't know, wherever, Africa. They'll work for much cheaper, right? The state of Wisconsin promised something like $3 to $4 billion in tax incentives. Gave them the land here, built the roads for their factory, built it already. It's already built. And then Foxconn a week ago said, nah. I mean, imagine they built the new Viking stadium and then the Vikings saying, we're moving to LA. We'd be like, what? What are you nuts? We just built the stadium for you. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, but it's a bit of a hubbub in the state of Wisconsin. But my point is this: we Americans, we are very expensive to employ. Now, you could argue, yeah, but we do good work, right? We do quality stuff. Maybe. Okay, questions? Let's keep rocking. That chart shows membership in another union. So this is union number 2. Anyone know what AFL stands for? American Football League. Very good. Totally wrong. Well, Americans, right?
American Federation.
American foosball.
Food. Very good.
That wasn't me. Why are you looking at me?
Federation.
So cute. American Federation of Labor.
Oh, I got
American Federation of Labor. And the skyrocketing membership in the American Federation of Labor, this is 1900, 1901, 1902, 3, 4. Just the skyrocketing membership because unions got better pay, safer working conditions, a dental plan, weekends, shorter working days. So, a segment of the American population looks at unions and says, radical, violent, dangerous. But there's another segment of the American population, the people in the unions, that say Saturday, Sunday, teeth, health, money, health care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very divided opinions about unions. Some truths about the AFL as opposed to the Knights of Labor. The Knights of Labor welcomed everybody. No matter what job you were, you're welcome. How about this group? No. Only people with skills. Nunchuck skills, computer hacking skills. Girls dig guys with skills. The main man was a guy by the name of Samuel Gompers. He is the leader of the AFL, which, by the way, still exists. It sort of still exists. They merged with another union called the CIO to form the AFL-CIO with a hyphen in between. Their main weapon was the walkout strike, and their other weapon was the boycott. Hey, synthesis. Have we talked about boycotts before?
Yeah.
Yes.
We did that to the Englanders.
We bless you.
You are just linguistically a master today. We did that to the Englanders, he said. It is the AFL that helped form this thing called Labor Day. When's Labor Day?
September.
It's the it's the day we get a day off and then we go to school, right? That day.
Yeah, first Monday of September. I thought I stated.
And this says often not involved in political parties. I would argue that they are gung-ho for the Democratic Party today. I'm not saying that as a criticism or praise. I'm just saying generally the AFL-CIO, which represents labor, generally endorses Democrats for president and mayors and governors, et cetera, et cetera. Very good. That's it. How's about that? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So like the end of the day tomorrow.
Is it? Yeah, there's a spot.
We have a work day.
Yes, end of the day tomorrow.
Like 3:10 or 11:59.
Well, I won't be here, so
Like we actually have to turn it in.
There's not a grade, but
Yes.
he's checking them.
You just look at them. Yeah,
read it.
just look.
You're not gonna read it. Okay, so I'm not turning it in.
DICHT.
Okay.
Just like,
Oh no, are you grabbing stuff?
Okay. How many of you?
No.
You need the Blue Book documents. Blue Book documents.
Get them out
It
now.
says on the front. It says the industrial boom or something. You need these out, and you need your phones away. Why are you on your phone? Hurts my feelings. Well, we're gonna start attacking these. So, how many of you intend? Oh, yeah. Anyone else? How many of you intend on answering the question that asks how the U.S. became an industrial giant? The first essay question.
It's the only one I understand.
Well, let's do this. We stand.
Can you explain both the questions again?
Wait, so we have the first
Remember when I asked?
Which one has the nativists in it?
I don't understand that one.
Well, then do the other one.
Yeah, I understand that.
Which one did you say was the easy one?
The name.
No, before you said one of them was easy.
I think they're both. How many of you intend on answering the question, what factors helped to promote America's huge industrial growth during the period 1860 to 1900? And possible answers include technology, low labor costs, government involvement, the economic model, the monopoly. Who's answering that one? Stand up.
Oh, actually, I think
It's the only one I think I understand.
you're not gonna call us, right?
Nope. Go to that table over there. Join Dominic. There's not many of you. That's all right. Go over there. That's telling me that the rest of you are answering the second essay question, which is what factors, how's the phraseology? Why did American nativist groups oppose free, unrestricted immigration? And there were social, political, economic, cultural arguments for why nativists did not want. Why are you on your phone? Even though I told you not to be. So that's the rest of you. Is that correct? Will you, I mean, since there's so many of you, and that's totally fine, will you find yourselves in groups of, say, 4-ish? That includes 5, but it also includes 3. 3 to 5 at your table. Don't be by yourself.
They kicked me out. Oh, okay. There are groups of 4,
We
right?
have 5.
I just said I could have came with you guys. You kicked me out. Riley kicked me out.
There's a group over there. Why don't you join those?
Okay.
Look, there's a group of 2. Right there.
Really? You sure?
Oh, group of 3. Never mind. Okay.
We're good, Potter.
So the rest of the hour, I take it back.
Okay.
I'll give you about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to check back with you. I want you to figure out which category. I'll put the choices up here again. But do you remember that spreadsheet sort of thing? I had the questions. I want you to identify all 7 documents. Where do they belong? Okay, and then see if you can figure out what each document is saying. This is your document evidence. Remember, you only need 3 for your essay. You're writing a 5-paragraph essay. I'm going to share with everyone what I shared with Tyler last week. I think I may have said this already, but here we go. You are not writing an essay where you're presenting both sides of a question and then ultimately proving one right and one wrong. That's not what you're doing. You're writing a SPICE essay, which is of 5 possible categories. Pick 3. And then you have an intro and a conclusion. So you're ending up with a 5-paragraph essay. Why is something true? These are easier. This essay is easier.
We should have started with this at the beginning.
Okay? No, there's no refuting. There's no refuting. You're simply saying, here are 3 reasons why something is true. Either what that table's arguing, which is, here are 3 reasons why the United States became an economic giant, or what the rest of you are writing, and that is, why did nativists, here are 3 reasons why nativists did not want free, unlimited immigration. Okay? Are there any questions about what you're doing for the next 15-ish minutes? Okay, off you go. I will have the choices up here in a second.
Liv, are you in horticulture? Yeah. You are? Yeah. I was in ecology, but then I didn't
Oh,
you hear Logan? Yeah. You're glowing.
Oh, wait,
You're
go back to
pregnant.
the-
Logan thinks so great. Okay. She's telling Liv that she's pregnant. What? That's Logan.
No, not that.
Wasn't it asking you?
Hey, I'll show you. I'll show you what the
Yes, as you not.
Like, what made him say
It's a joke. I don't know why. I don't know what happened this morning. Okay, so what are we doing? This is so fun.
How many documents do you like use total? You guys have 3 reasons.
Oh, the other part later.
Oh, because we have to pick 3
That
out of
one's really
5. So
I
should we just
remember last time
determine?
you
put SP.
Oh, it's
I. What's the I?
Potter, what's the I?
international. That would be,
Are we using that?
I was like, oh.
hold on. No.
Okay.
So 3 out of 4. Social, cultural, economic.
So on the screen now are your choices. If you're doing the nativist one, we kind of pared it down to there were, and I would actually argue that you could combine these 2 together. So I'm talking to these groups over here, not that table. Create a paragraph about social/cultural. Again, the difference, this is how you identify yourself, but you have no control over it. Generally, race and gender. Culture is something that's true about you, but you have some control over it. Religion, language. Economic, they took their jabs. Political, do we have some concerns about these immigrants and their right to vote? Is there anything about that? Up here, that table, there are 6. You only need 3 of them. So label which document belongs where, and then you individually pick the 3 that you feel the most comfortable arguing.
Political.
I'm floating if you have questions.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing.
So social and culture go together. We have to do all of them.
So you're not scheduled?
So there's 3 of them. Like you only use 3.
Like, what are you? There's nothing.
Can I end this?
Determine, like, do you know, like which of these documents is like cultural?
That's what it is.
Connor, can we end this? End this?
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye.
And then it'll say done and hit done.